let's get going. I will start there actually, because a lot of new members do miss that the community hangs out. No, I'm not actually Art, sorry. I taught Brian Cox everything he knew. So Art was just asking if I'm a relation of Brian Cox. And I just taught him everything he knew. And then he just stole all my knowledge and then went off, wrote loads of books and did a few TV series. Few people know him, but you know, I get most of the family. Anyway, a lot of people don't realize that the Slooh community of members, of which Gretchen is one, hangs out on our Discord server, and they hold star parties, and there is a star party in 2 hours time. Gretchen, is that right? I believe so.
Sorry, I'm muted. Yes, at 8 o'clock Eastern, so
okay.
6 o'clock my time, 5 o'clock Pacific.
Great. Well, you never know, might have some new members joining. We've got a number of new members joining us tonight, a few who are going to be watching the recording tomorrow who have already asked me some questions. So I'm going to talk about one thing this evening that I don't normally talk about very much in these kind of getting started sessions, but Art, Ken, Mariana, if anybody's watching on the Star Party page, then if you hop over to Zoom, you can ask questions in here, but you can always as well email me questions, paul@Slooh. But anyway, I'm going to do a really quick run through of some of the key things that are going to help you get started with Slooh. And we've had quite a few new family subscribers recently. And family subscribers is an interesting one because I always recommend that the person who started the master account, you know, kind of gets to grips a little bit with the platform and how to use the telescopes before you then invite your family members in. Then invite your family members in, and you can kind of help them out as well. But this webinar, all of our webinars, they're all recorded. You can watch them. I'll show you exactly where to do that in a second. But here we are at www.slooh.com. I'm going to log in straight away. This is one of our posters, by the way, from one of our Quest learning activities, which I will show you later. But press the login button, come up in here. There we go. Sign in with email. You can also link your Google account as well if you like with it. And where you land is called the dashboard, and the dashboard can be a little bit overwhelming. We are streamlining this at the moment, but I'm not going to go into any of this in too much detail. This is just about getting you over the first couple of hurdles. But what I will tell you about the dashboard is the right hand side is all about the community and what you do, your contribution to the community, and that revolves around what we call gravity points. So everything you do at Slooh, whether it's controlling the telescope, liking somebody else's image that they've posted, somebody liking your image that you posted, you posting an image, you gain gravity points. You also get awarded badges as well. Some people aren't bothered about this at all. I was really quite surprised when we launched this. A lot of our serious astronomer members really got into this in a very big way. But you can scroll down here, and this is just all of your activity at the top. Shows you the objects that you've done most with, you know, either capturing images or sharing an observation or writing a post about stuff like that. It's got things like that. And it's got a league table here, so you can see gosh, that's low. In the last 10 days, I've been 135th all time. I might be a little bit higher. Yeah, I'm a bit 7th. I mean, you'd expect that, wouldn't you? Further down, you can see the gravity points that the whole community has got. This is really, as I say, it's not just kids and students who really get into this. A lot of other members do as well. We've got 7 levels at Slooh, and they're all named after famous astronomers. The top level at the moment is Hubble. We've got 20 Hubble members, and you have to have over 108,000 gravity points to get there. Some people have done it in as little as a few months. Others have done it in taken years to get there. It doesn't matter. You've got the community leaderboards, then you've got the student leaderboards and school leaderboards down at the bottom. So that's kind of all of the community stuff over there on the right. On the left is about your activity. So front and center, you'll see up here, these are our quests. A quest at Slooh is a learning activity. It's where you learn about astronomical concepts while you're also learning how to use the platform, how to use the telescopes, because all of our quests require you to capture your own images of the specific objects that relate to that quest. And if I just scroll down here, these are actually live posters. So at the end of most quests, there's lots of activities to do during a quest, but at the end of it normally results in a poster, what we call an infographic poster. And that includes all of the images that you've captured. And actually they even appear on this thumbnail. So you can see the tiny little images in these white boxes. Those are the images that I've captured so far for that quest. If we scroll down, we'll see more obvious ones. We're going to have a look at quests a little bit later. We haven't got to some of my favorites. Actually, I should probably go to my completed quests. That would be a far better place to look at. So we did a great one for Halloween Moon in the footsteps of Clyde Tombaugh, where you can replicate the discovery of Pluto just as Clyde Tombaugh did. And what you do in that quest, you don't land up with a poster. We've got this fabulous little tool inside the quest where you overlay your images of Pluto, and it just looks like a star. You can't spot Pluto in a single image because you can't differentiate it from all of the other stars or the stars in the image. But what you do is you capture a series of images over several nights and you take them into this little tool in the quest, you overlay them, you align them so all of the stars align, and then you turn it into an animated GIF. And the only moving object in your image is going to be the tiny little Pluto moving across your image. It's absolutely fabulous quest, that one. But one of the quests that I recommend everybody start is the Nifty Nebulae quest. You can see this one, I have completed it. And there's also some great collection quests as well. So summer, winter, winter, fall, all that, or winter, summer, because we're talking about two different hemispheres. So we're just about to go into winter in the Northern Hemisphere on December 21st, I think, this year. But of course, it goes into summer down in the Southern Hemisphere. But I just want to show you one little thing while we are on quests, because I mentioned that Nifty Nebula quest was a beginner quest. I know we've got lots of new people in tonight. Actually, I'm just going to, don't worry, folks, if you suddenly go a little bit blank and your Zoom kind of disappears, because I'm promoting everybody to panelists, and you can come in and switch your video on and audio and interrupt me if you want to ask any questions, but don't feel as if you have to. But anyway, if you go to Browse Quests, you'll see this little filter button over here. So I would recommend this when you're first starting off. Go to filter and filter by beginner quests, and then you're just presented with all of the beginner quests. Run through these. We'll run through them a little bit later. I'll show you an example of one of those. But anyway, that's quests. So that's our learning activities, learning astronomical principles while you're learning how to use the platform and capturing all your images. We go further down the dashboard, and we've got the observatories. So this is one of the things that somebody has already asked me to talk about tonight, which I don't normally talk about in these beginner sessions, but I will do tonight. I'm going to say a little bit more about the observatories and the telescopes that you all get to control. And don't forget, all members, no matter what type of membership you've got, you can control all of Slooh's telescopes. We'll take a look at those a little bit later. But here we go. We see here the Canary Islands Observatory. That's our Northern Hemisphere Observatory. That's at the Institute of Astrophysics of the Canary Islands. If you don't know where the Canary Islands are, they're 300 miles off the west coast of Africa. And we're up on top of a volcano, 2,000 meters, 8,000 feet high, in this beautiful air, usually above the clouds. We have got some clouds tonight. But anyway, it's telling you here that, the opening time and stuff like that. But we've also got a Southern Hemisphere Observatory, and that's in Chile. That's at the Catholic University's it's the Santiago Catholic University, their Learning Observatory. And you can see that doesn't come online for another hour and a bit. All right, so the current time is 23:09 UTC, which is the time zone that astronomers use. And you can see that it comes online in about an hour and a half's time. So look forward to that, because I think it looked pretty clear down in Chile, and we've been seeing some absolutely cracking views down there. So that's the observatory. Is just a little bit of information, tells you about sky rating and the conditions and stuff like that. But then we're coming down to, this is the bit that most people get really excited about. This is where we're talking about controlling the telescopes. And when one member controls one of the telescopes, they're selecting a target, and sometimes they select a specific telescope, a specific date, a specific time, but you can just do it really simply, like I'll show you, just by selecting the object. And when the telescope is pointing to your target, it's doing so for about 5 or 10 minutes, depending upon which telescope. And that 5 or 10 minute slot is called a mission. All right, so you're going to be setting up missions for different celestial objects to capture images from it. But what's really, really different about Slooh, we're not a telescope rental service. You want to rent the same size telescope as the Canary 1.5 meter telescope. It's a massive telescope in the Canary Islands, world-class observatory site. You want to rent a telescope like that, it'll normally cost you well over $100 per hour, right? But you get to control that and capture images. But you can also watch everybody else's missions live and capture images from those as well. So it's a little bit like a celestial jukebox. One person is controlling or pointing one of the telescopes to a target at one particular time, but everybody else can watch it. And here are my missions. So we've got the featured missions. First of all, these are 3 missions that I set up, or 3 objects I select each week, and they're either the most interesting or they're seasonally really great looking or something like that. So we've got here the first quarter moon, which is not visible until tomorrow night. But if you're doing the lunar phases quest, you've only got 1 night to capture the first quarter moon. So that's why I've made that a featured object. We see here, we've got the Spiral Galaxy M66. This is probably the easiest way of joining a mission. Now, if you're new to Slooh, you'll probably see there's a join mission button for all of these when you log into the dashboard. I've set this one up, I've set this one up. So actually I can join this person's mission just by clicking that, clicking join mission, and that's it. It's telling me it's the Spiral Galaxy M66, which is in the constellation of Leo, if you're interested. It's going to happen on Wednesday, November 30th, which is actually tonight. It's using the Canary 4 telescopes. We'll look at all the telescopes in a bit. It's telling us a little bit more about the object down here, and we can go further into that as well if you want to learn more about the specific object. Now, I've just joined that mission, and you can see it's now appeared in my mission schedule. So I've currently got 2 missions scheduled here. These are 2 basic missions. I've got more advanced missions scheduled down here. But anyway, I'm not going to go into that for the time being. We'll scroll past there. We can see here, these are my recent missions. Now, we've got some bad weather recently. So you can see here that we got the message on some of my missions from last night. By the way, anybody who's late joining, if you want to ask any questions, please, butt in. You can unmute, or you can use the chat, or you can use the Q&A in here as well. In fact, I need to.
Oh, there are a couple of questions in the Q&A box.
Oh, go. Right. Sorry, I had already gone over to the answered selection now. I shouldn't have had that selected. So Mariana is asking, I am really obsessed with space and celestial bodies. Join the club. So you come to the right place, that's for certain. I want to do much more in this regard, being a student of grade 11. Well, you've definitely come into the right place, because loads of our quests are designed specifically for students of all grade levels. But I suspect, Mariana, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, but I suspect if you're a bit of a fan of astronomy and space, that you might want to go up some grade levels when you do some of the quests, all right? Because you'll be way ahead of your normal grade level. But anyway, how can I be very good at it and I can adopt it as a professional? Well, once again, you've come to the right place. It's a great place to learn the basics of astronomy while using live telescopes, which we're going to have a look at a little bit later. And goes on to say, it'll be very kind of you to give me a few tips or elaborate on how can I excel in this field. Well, we'll go through that as we go through, Mariana. So don't worry about that. And by the way, you can always email me, paul@slooh.com, if you do have any questions outside of this webinar. And Art is asking, is there any control over exposures when taking an image on a mission? Art, I will answer that question when we hop over to look at the live views and how to schedule missions. So anyway, what we've got here is my recent missions here, and you can see here the ones that are accomplished. I can click on this little link and say see my images. I'm going to scroll down the page now. I'm not going to cover the object map today, but I'm only going to say that what we've got, when I first started out in astronomy, I didn't buy a telescope because truly I looked up at the sky and I thought, I won't know what to point it at. I won't know where anything is. And actually, I finally got my first telescope when go-to telescopes, computerized telescopes, were invented and became, affordable. And that was when I knew, well, now I can do it, because the telescope is going to know where everything is. So what we've got here, this is to help you out even in your use of Slooh when you're using, and you'll see how easy it is to use telescopes in a sec. But what we've got here is, it's not only where objects are, but it's what objects shall I look at? Right. And, you know, when you buy your own telescope, and maybe when you start a Slooh, you think, oh, I'll capture images of the moon or the planets and maybe a star cluster or something, but maybe you don't know all of the other objects or the best objects to look at. So what we've done is we've curated this list of, it's just over 1,000 of the best or most interesting objects in the night sky. And if you select any of these, you're likely to get some pretty good images out of it. If you want to really go to town and be absolutely assured of seeing an absolutely fascinating or beautiful object, then select this little toggle down here that says Slooh 100, because this is the best of the best in here. And if you capture any of the objects, these little white dots, and you can zoom in and then you can start seeing their names and stuff like that, you will not be disappointed. So we got the Flame Nebula, the Horsehead Nebula, the Running Man Nebula, the Orion Nebula, all packed tight into this little space. If you're interested in Star Wars, and we've got Darth Vader's Galaxy. Yes, it's actually called Darth Vader's Galaxy. If you're into money, down here, Silver Coin Galaxy. And we got the Grand Design Galaxy. Then we got Planet here. We got Uranus up here. We got Jupiter over here. You know, so you can see the breadth of objects. But anyway, I'll let you play with that, the object map, the Slooh 1000 object map outside of here, because then we come into one of the interesting areas that I always head to first thing in the morning when I log into Slooh, and it's my photos. So this is split down into my photo roll, my observations. Observations are images that I've captured that I share with the rest of the community. Missions are like a way of seeing all of the images from one mission in one place. You can make galleries and stuff like that, and then Quest Media, those are all of my posters. Now, so these are all my recent images. So what have we got in here? Well, you can see I've been capturing a lot of the sun recently because we've seen some fabulous solar action. A lot of people don't know we have a solar telescope that runs during the day, during weekdays at the Canary Islands Observatory. You can see here I've captured the Hamburger Galaxy down here, the moon, a very young waxing crescent moon. We can hop along here and we can see all manner of other objects that I've captured. So the Triangulum Galaxy there, this was just as the sun was setting, I captured that. But let's take a close look at one of these solar images, shall we? Go into there. This one's a little bit blurry because we had some cloud that day, but we see this enormous prominence coming out. This is a superheated jet of plasma reaching out and arching up from the sun. This particular type of prominence is called a hedge prominence, but I actually think this one looks like two trees kind of merged together. But it's only when you start understanding the scale of what we're seeing that this becomes truly amazing. So if you think about how big the sun is in relationship to Earth, Earth would fit in that little black space which is underneath the prominence. So you could fit 10 Earths into that prominence alone. I mean, and you can watch these things in the solar telescope every day, and you can watch them change from minute to minute, hour to hour, and then you can track activities. We've got quests where you can track activities crossing the face of the sun over the course of the week. So Mariana, that's a great place to start learning. So if you want to start learning about astronomy, I don't know how far you've got so far, but maybe start close to home. Start with your exploration of our solar system, so the moon, the planets, the sun, and we have got loads of quests there. So those were my images there that I've shown you. I'm going to show you more of that a little bit later. Observations, I've already talked about observations, but observations are images that members have captured, and they're so good or so interesting or so bizarre sometimes that they want to share them with the rest of the community. And we do ask you, let us know why it's important to you. Don't just do a copy and paste from Wikipedia, stuff like that. But here you can see we've got featured and we've got all. So featured observations are observations that have got 10 or more likes on them. And you can see this one's got 14. And you can see there's also a discussion as well. So people have commented on this. So you can skip through these. It's a great place to look at every day. Oh, there's a Tarantula Nebula. That's a fabulous object that you can see from the southern hemisphere. So some of these are snaps from the live telescope feeds that members have shared. Others have been, so Art, you were asking about setting exposure times and stuff like that. So you might be interested in doing some astrophotography and image processing yourself. And that's what a lot of these other observations are, where members have processed the images themselves. So this is a great place to come to see what's possible with the Slooh telescopes. So there's a great one of the sun showing surface detail and that prominence up here. So those are all the ones that are featured because they've got more than 10 likes. But if I go over to all, these are just the most recent now. So we've got the exploding galaxy here. That's a live snap. That's the Sombrero galaxy. That's as it looked in the live telescope views. This is Mars. So somebody's just cropped those two images of Mars. And you can see that we're already seeing some surface features on Mars, which is pretty cool. But what you can see is there's a difference between the two. Look, that's separated by about 5 hours. And we can see that Mars has rotated between the two missions, separated by 5 hours. Now, Mars is coming up to opposition. Gretchen will help me out here. I think it's December 8th. Give us a thumbs up. December 8th, yeah, December 8th. Mars is at opposition, which means it rises at dusk as the sun sets, and it sets when the sun rises. So it's visible all night long. Now, Mars rotates roughly in the same period of time. It's the length of Mars's day is roughly the same length as Earth's day. But that means that over the course of an entire night, we can see about half of the surface of Mars, which is pretty cool. And a lot of members do things like that and turn that into an animation so they see the planet rotating. So I hadn't actually seen that observation. I think that deserves a like. So Dark Sky Mac has actually just earned some gravity points because I've just liked his image there, because it's contributing something really interesting to the community. It's another one from Paul. That's a very interesting one. I'll have to come back and have a look at that. But I think I've spent too much time here because I will just scroll down the page, show you the last little bits on the dashboard. So here you can see upcoming star parties. So this is one that we're in now. We've got Tuesdays with Let's Be Done by 10 with Keith and Gretchen. That's where the whole community comes together. Not a whole community, but a bunch of members get together on our Discord server, which you can join very easily through your profile up here. And they talk about all manner of things. They go over all of the solar activity of the week, celestial events that are coming up. There's always a whole stack of really interesting stuff there. We've got Universe Explorers of Maine. That's a pretty cool star party that we do. Any teachers or students out there, you can have a look at using Slooh in education. That's going to be a couple of weeks' time. Going down, we've also got workspaces. So workspaces are like forums. Most of this activity has moved over to our Discord server. So we've got if you are interested in astrophotography and processing your own images, if you go over to our Discord server, we've got what we call a house there, which is a channel called the Fornax House. And in that, we've shared thousands of FITS files for you to process yourself. I only released another set of data last week, which was the Helix Nebula. So you might want to check that out. FITS data, if anybody wants to know, is the kind of scientific data, which is what these things produce, what I'm holding up to the camera now. This is an astronomical CCD camera. This is what's on the back of the telescope. You can see how huge it is. But this creates files, data, images in what's called a FITS format. But then we have some real-time processing that we're going to hop over and see in a second to produce the live images. But anyway, different people will see different things. Yes, of course, Ayman, you can ask a question. You can ask it there, or you can unmute, whichever you prefer. I'll carry on. And oh, are you there? Have you unmuted? Arman, I hope I'm pronouncing your name.
So
yes.
I would like to ask that, how would you be notified if any celestial body is in space or not, whenever the telescope is online?
Okay, well, that's a really, really good question for starters. And there's a couple of different places where you can see that. And although I skipped over it up above, I will go back to it now, because if we go back to our object map, all of these objects, what you can see here is this is like a map of the entire sky. Right now, we've got the sun over here, and there's a grey patch around the sun here, and then over to the right as well. And those are the objects that that's the area where we can't point the nighttime telescopes to because it's during daytime. So you can see, though, that all of the sky that's in dark blue, all of those objects you could capture tonight using Slooh's telescopes. And if you hover over any one of these, you can see their names as they come up. And if you zoom in, you can take a close look. But we're also going to be taking a look, it's a UFO galaxy there, one of my favorites. You can actually click on these and you can go to what's called our guide pages, which we will have a look at later. But for now, remind me, please, I need to show you the guide pages. But for now, I think we should hop over and see the telescopes. Now, to do that, you go to the dome icon up here, press that. And what you can see here is we've already talked about two observatories. There's one in the Canary Islands that shows us the Northern Hemisphere sky, one in Chile, which shows us the Southern Hemisphere sky. And what we've got here are 3 telescopes in Chile and 5 in the Canary Islands. Canary 5 is offline at the moment because that's our solar telescope. So that's online during the daylight hours. But you can see here, got Canary 4, 3, 2, and 1, all online. So we can click on those and go to the live telescope feed. Chile is offline during daylight hours, and Chile 3 is only used for special events. But why don't we hop over and just click on Canary 1? This is our largest telescope. It's the Canary 1 half-meter telescope. So when we talk about the size of a telescope, we talk about the diameter of its primary optics, either a piece of glass at the front of a telescope, or all of our telescopes, most of our telescopes are reflecting telescopes, so they have a mirror. So the mirror in the back of this telescope is 20 inches in diameter, half a meter in diameter. And the bigger the telescope, the more light from these distant faint objects it can capture. And strapped to the back of that telescope is one of these. This camera gets cooled. You can see there's loads of cooling fans on it and things like this. The CCD chip in here is this big. It's about 2 inches square, about 48 millimeters square. And it's ultra cooled. We cool this down to minus 40 degrees centigrade, would you believe? And there's a whole stack of reasons why we do that. But anyway, what we're looking at here, this is a live view from the Canary 1 telescope. We can see the stars here a little bit long, which means we're probably getting blown about by the wind tonight. So the conditions are not great in the Canary Islands tonight. I didn't even think we'd be open. But this is a live telescope view. And let's pretend conditions are perfect, and that's a beautiful image. What are we looking at? Well, it tells you up here. It's Messier 1, which is actually the Crab Nebula. This is showing us who scheduled the mission. Lonnie scheduled it. There's other information that we'll take a little look at down there. But don't forget, all members can watch all of the live telescope views. But how do you capture an image? Well, it's as simple as clicking this little button up here, the little camera icon. Click that, and you can see that I've now captured this image from this particular mission. So where does that land up? Well, if we hop back now to the dashboard, that image that I've just captured live from the live telescope feed, you don't have to scroll down the page, by the way. You can also click on the profile icon over on the top right and go to My Photos, which takes straight out. There it is. There's the image that I've just snapped. And I can go into that and I can do all sorts of stuff with it. I can download it. I can delete it, even if it's not a very good photo. But let's go back to the live feeds. Let's see what else is visible. Let's take a look at Canary 2. This is a large telescope as well. So we're looking at Reflection Nebula M78. So let's take a look, see if this is out of the cloud. Now, you may notice, oh, wow, look at that. So Nifty Nebula, I'm going to capture an image of that before this mission ends. So this is a live view of this Reflection Nebula. And a Reflection Nebula is a cloud of dust and gas, which is being illuminated by the light of those stars right in the center. Right? How can I join back as a panelist? I will get you back as a panelist. Don't worry, Mariana. So there you go. So it's it's being illuminated by the reflected light from those young new stars, which is pretty cool. I'm really glad I captured that as I went, because I was just about to tell you, I was about to get distracted. I don't often show this, but we've got down here on the right hand side something called mission audio. Now I've untoggled that, but if you toggle that on, what you'll get is you'll get narration from one of our narrators, Bob Berman. Does a lot of our narration. He writes a column in Astronomy magazine. He does loads of stuff. He's written loads of books. I've got loads of his books up there. We've also got the guy who does the voice, is the voice for Sonic the Hedgehog. He does some of them. And a lady called Helen Avery does some of the narration as well. So that's down there. But anyway, I just wanted to scroll down here because this is a live view from the Canary 2 telescope, which is a 17-inch telescope, so it's still pretty darn big. But let's just have a look, because we'll have a look, see what the conditions are like. So we can click over here to the sky conditions. So, okay, level 2 is not great. We've got some, yeah, we've got some high wind gusts that can affect that Canary 1, the big telescope. But anyway, I'm sorry, I'm just peering around. Let's take a look at Canary 3, see what's in here. By the way, anybody can unmute at any point. Oh, this might be good. This is going to be the Andromeda Galaxy. So the Canary 3 telescope, you might be asking, why do we have loads of different telescopes? Oh, my word, look at that. I got to snap an image of that. There's another quest, which is called the Milky Way Doppelganger. And that's where you try and find a galaxy which is very similar to our own Milky Way galaxy. But what you can see, what's fascinating here, let's just talk about this. So this is one of the most distant objects you can see with your naked eye. You can see it's a faint fuzzy patch. But what we can also see in Slooh's live telescope views is that little smudge of light here and this other smudge of light up here. Those are two small galaxies which are actually orbiting the Andromeda Galaxy. And the fate of the Andromeda Galaxy is it's heading towards us. It is hurtling towards us at an absolutely incredible speed. And in about 4 billion years' time, the Andromeda Galaxy and our own Milky Way galaxy are going to merge together. It's not going to be big crashes and stuff like that, because most of space in both galaxies is empty. So actually, most of the stars will just whiz past each other. But their gravity will bind them together, and they'll carry on kind of in this orbital dance, this celestial dance, until in the end, both galaxies merge probably into a giant elliptical galaxy. But what a fabulous look at that. I think you'll agree that that is a pretty fabulous live view of the Andromeda Galaxy. I wonder if there's anybody in a planet around a star in the Andromeda Galaxy pointing a telescope back to us in the Milky Way and saying, I wonder if there's anybody over there in the Milky Way pointing a telescope, peering at us. Well, we're here, we're waiting. Anyway, those are the live telescope views. So how do you control the telescopes? Well, let's use this actually as a great example. We'll just hop over to Canary 4, see what's in Canary 4. Oh, that's a strange little reflection nebula. That's a tiny one. Now, the Canary 4 telescope has one of the smallest fields of view, because I was telling you about the Andromeda Galaxy. The Andromeda Galaxy is not only huge in its true physical size, but because it's relatively close to us, it's still a very, very long way away. But because it's relatively close to us, it appears to be quite large in the night sky. In fact, it's larger than the diameter, the apparent diameter of the moon, right? So the Canary 3 telescope has this enormous field of view, which means that we can capture enormous objects like the Andromeda Galaxy. But the Canary 4 telescope is the total opposite of that. It has a very small field of view. So it's really good at capturing planets, close-ups of the moon, and smaller objects. Some of the smaller planetary nebula look great in this, like the Ring Nebula Messier 57. That's a lovely object, one of my favorites. But anyway, let's go and use the Andromeda Galaxy to see how easy it is to set up your own mission to capture your own images of the Andromeda Galaxy. Now, don't forget, you could come here to the live telescope views and you can click this button. So this mission is still running from GeoDub. And I can snap another image. So there we go. I've snapped another image from the live stream. So you can capture images like that. But let's say you want to set up your own mission for it. Well, this is how you do it. Don't forget, if you joined late, a mission is a 5 or 10 minute period when one member is selecting. Mariana, you can unmute at any point if you want to ask a question. So just anybody can unmute. So anyway, let's show you how to set up a mission to the Andromeda Galaxy. Once again, I click the dome icon. I go to Mission Setup. Now, the easiest way of doing this, and all members can do this, is a simple 3-step process. And that is, first of all, to choose the object type. So we've got the solar system, we've got planets, minor planets, comets, the moon, we've got star clusters, both open and globular star clusters, and you'll learn all about these in our quest. We've got nebulae here, emission nebula, reflection nebula, dark nebula, and planetary nebula. You'll learn all about those in the nifty nebula quest. And I would really recommend that's the quest to start with, because you only have to capture 4 objects, but you kind of learn at a really nice pace, as well as capturing some absolutely glorious images of the different types of nebulae. I'll show you my poster later. Then we've got galaxies. We've got galaxies of all different types, spiral, elliptical, blah, blah, blah. Then we got double stars, we've got star clouds, supernova, and then we've got loads of stars in here as well. So you might be interested to, maybe you're a fan of the constellation of Orion. Well, you could come into here and you could collect all of the named stars that make up the constellation of Orion. We've got one member, Paul Kay, who does that, and he creates these marvelous posters because he not only captures all the stars making up a constellation, but he captures all of the objects within it as well. But anyway, we know that the Andromeda Galaxy is a spiral galaxy, or I do, right? And I'm going to select that as my object type. This is step 1. There you go. There's step 1. Calculating proper time and telescope. This is Slooh's recommendation engine. This is the server going absolutely wizardry. It's wizardry going on in the server room at the moment. It's calculating all of the spiral galaxies that are visible over the next 7 days, which are in the Slooh 1000 list of objects. And it's given us a list here to select from in step 2. So I click on this. Now, all of them shown in bold are visible over the next 7 nights, but let's see if there are any that aren't visible over the next 7 nights. So this, Mariana, kind of answers your question. With the amount of sky that we can see most of the night sky all the time. Look at that. There is not a single spiral galaxy in the Slooh 1000 at the moment which is not visible. If it wasn't visible, it would be grayed out. All right, so that's how you would know. But I can select any of these, but this particular example, I wanted the Andromeda Galaxy. There it is. It's first in the list. I click that. That's step 2. Step 3 is preview my mission. I press that button and it tells me this is the Andromeda Galaxy M31. It's going to occur at 0030 UTC on Wednesday, November 30th. So that is actually in 50 minutes time, and it's using Canary 3 because Canary 3 is the best telescope. So the recommendation engine has selected that good telescope for the Andromeda Galaxy. I press schedule mission, and there it is. There's confirmation. You're going on a mission to the Andromeda Galaxy M31. Congratulations.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course you can.
I just wanted to ask that how can I carry out a research on an asteroid?
Well, I can't answer that question in full. The question was, if anybody didn't hear it, is Mariana was asking how can she carry out research on an asteroid? Well, it depends on what kind of research you want to do. I can't cover all of that in this beginner's session, but I will give you a few pointers. So let me just finish off this little section, Mariana, and then I'll talk maybe a little bit about that when I show you the different ways of scheduling the telescopes. Because what I did want to show you here is on the mission confirmation page that we've got here, we've got a link to the object guide. So all of our Slooh 1000 objects have a guide page, and this is where you can learn more about each object. So here we go. It's telling us what kind of object it is. It's telling us the constellation it's in. It's showing the most recent observation. This one was shared June 6th, actually. Gosh, that's a long time since anybody shared that, and it's a cracking image, actually. That's worth a like. It's telling us the coordinates, the magnitude. It's also telling us when the object's visible. And this first one is over the course of the year. So if it's green, it's telling us that it's visible and above the horizon. This is selecting the Canary Islands Observatory at the moment. If we go to the Chile Observatory, we're going to see that the Andromeda Galaxy isn't visible from the Chile Observatory at all because it's a Northern Hemisphere object. But this is useful to plan out some of the larger collection quests where you're maybe collecting hundreds of objects over an entire year. So you want to choose the best times to see it. The blue lines, by the way, are when the moon is up. You don't want to be capturing an object while the moon. So it's showing us here the best telescope is Canary 2 and Canary 3. This down here is giving us a little bit of historical perspective about the Andromeda Galaxy. So this is from a series of books called Burnham's Celestial Handbook. There are three tomes of it. I've got them up here. And it just gives a superb, we've got special permission to use this content. And it gives you an idea of how our understanding about some of these astronomical objects have changed over the years. And you can see here, you know, it's talking about the Persian astronomer calling it the little cloud back then, but then it's going through, you know, further and further up into the 1950s. And don't forget that, you know, 100 years ago, we thought that these galaxies were part of our own galaxy and were actually nebula. So it's just fascinating to see all of that. You can scroll further down the page. You've got loads of that. And you can see related objects here. So if you really like your images that you've captured using of the Andromeda Galaxy, you can hop off and you can go and explore some other galaxies as well. Art's asking a question, is Slooh planning on adding additional observatories or telescopes in the foreseeable future? Yes, we are, Art. We have lots of irons in the fire at the moment, one in India, one in the Middle East, and a couple in the USA. They're all at various stages. We've also got permission to install another very large telescope in the Canary Islands as well. So definitely watch this space for that. So this is the guide page. I did want to just show you a couple of other things on here before I skirt off and show you maybe some of the more advanced ways that you can use the telescopes, because this is a good segue into it. But hop over into the observations tab on the object guide pages, and here you'll see the most popular observations that members have shared of this particular object. This is a great place to come. So Art, if you're looking at doing your own astrophotography with Slooh and your own processing, hop over here, because you can see what other members are capable of doing without setting individual binning levels and exposure durations and filters and stuff like that. There's actually a lot of flexibility built into this. But if you want granular control of a telescope, that's a one-to-one rental service. If you want to control absolutely every single aspect of an imaging session, then you need to pay $100 an hour for that. But I think you'll be surprised if you come over here and go to the Fornax Club as well on Discord at what members are doing with the FITS data that they're getting. I mean, look at this one. I mean, this is just beautiful. And it's not even one of the top ones, beautifully processed images. And, you know, this also shows you as well that on people processing their own images, so much is about the different technique, but it's also about the aesthetic of what a particular person thinks looks great. This person, Yamo, likes a lot of saturation, color saturation in his images. Other people don't like that. But anyway, I wanted to show you the mission tab, because if you can imagine, everybody can use that first method of controlling the telescopes and setting up a mission to the Andromeda Galaxy that I showed you. For students, that's the only method that you can use, or family members of a family subscription. But if you're a teacher, a student pro, or a family leader, the primary account holder, you've got the ability to schedule what we call advanced missions as well. And I'll show you those in a sec. But for those people who don't have advanced missions, when I showed you that 3-step process, we didn't get to choose the day, we didn't get to choose the time, we didn't get to choose the telescope. Well, if you come to the mission tab on the object guide pages, you can see that we've got a lot more flexibility here. First of all, you can see I can select a date. All right. So let's say, we know that the weather forecast for tonight is poor at the observatory. So I don't particularly want to schedule a mission now, but maybe on December 1st, night of December 1st, the forecast is good. So I click that. And if I scroll down the page now, I can see this is a nightly visibility chart for Andromeda. So you want to get it when it's highest. But down here, it's now offering us 3 different missions, all on December 1st, but at different times. So one at 1905, one at 1955, and one at 2140. But also, it's giving us different telescopes. It doesn't always give us telescopes, but you can see here it's offering us Canary 3 and Canary 2. So you can come here with a great deal more flexibility. So I can come up here, and if I didn't particularly like that and think, well, it's still got a cloudy forecast, I go to December 2nd, come down here, and we've got 3 different missions offered to me here. And I'm going to select this one here, press the schedule mission button, press it again, and that's it. It's as simple as that. Now, all of those missions that I've just scheduled are going to be shown on my dashboard. I will get a reminder 15 minutes beforehand up here in my notifications. So I'll get a notification up here that my mission is about to start. You'll also receive an email as well. But if I scroll down the dashboard, we'll be able to see, look, here are all the missions that I've set up. There's 2 Andromeda Galaxy missions in there, and the other 2 were already there. Those are my basic missions. Now, all members can schedule 5 basic missions, but other members get advanced missions as well. So what's an advanced mission? Well, an advanced mission allows you to have more control over what you're doing. And I'm going to you can use by catalog. So we've got stacks of astronomical catalogs. These are lists of objects that were created for one purpose or another. The most famous of them is probably the Messier catalog, but we've got the NGC, the New General catalog, in here as well. That's got over 7,000 objects in it alone. So we could come into here and we could say, well, I want Messier. You're going to need to know the numbers if you do here. That's why they're advanced. And in here, I can type 31, which I happen to know is the Andromeda Galaxy. So I can check the visibility. Oh, that's because I put a return in there. Check visibility, and yep, it's visible. But over here, this is when we start getting into a little bit more control for you. So hopefully Art's still here. Is Art still here? Yeah, he is. Fitz is here as well. Hello, Fitz. So over here, you can select now in an advanced mission what we call the image processing preset. Now, that sounds like a mouthful, but basically, it changes the type of data, it changes the duration of the exposure on the camera, it changes which filters the particular mission is going to use, it changes sometimes the binning level. Now, in this one, I actually want just an aesthetic image, so I choose Bright Galaxy or Comet, but I may want to choose, I'll show you by telescope in a sec. There's another way of doing this as well, and this actually tells you here exactly what it's going to do in the processing. So that changes the data that you gather, but it also changes the real-time processing. So if I selected faint galaxy or comet for the Andromeda Galaxy, my images are going to be horrible and white because it's going to be overexposed because the Andromeda Galaxy is really bright. But I can press preview mission there. I'm not going to actually schedule this one, so I'm going to cancel that, because the one I wanted to show you here was by telescope. So this is the most granular level of control that you get of the Slooh telescopes, all of the telescopes. And what you can see here is we've got all of the nighttime telescopes here. We've got 2 in Chile, we've got the 4 in the Canary Islands. There is a little piggyback telescope on the back of Canary 2, which is a small telescope on top of the big telescope. So you get 2 lots of images for all of your Canary 2 missions. But what you can see here is just the schedule of the entire night. So these are the slots everybody has scheduled on Chile 1 tonight. If we hop over to, let's have a look at Canary 3 for tonight. And here they all are. Here are the missions. The blue ones here, these are empty slots. I can select one of these if I want. Oh, that's a good one for this time of year, isn't it? The Christmas tree cluster. But we can go up here. But what we can do here as well is we can select our days up to 7 days in advance. So you can schedule missions up to 7 days in advance. And you can see that, you know, we've got available missions tonight, let alone tomorrow night and the following night. So you can always find a mission slot at the moment. But what we can do is we come into here, and I've just come back a night. Wait for it to do its stuff. Book amongst yourselves. Right. Let's come down here because I know Andromeda, actually Andromeda is visible then. So actually, if I wanted, if I was thinking of grabbing a Canary 3 mission to Andromeda, I could what's called join this mission that Jens has already scheduled. You see these 2 little buttons up here? I can press that and I can say join this mission. Now what I've done there is I'll explain in a sec what joining a mission does, but it's the same actually as setting up your own mission, because all of the data from that mission, all of the images are going to be automatically saved for you. Because we've seen, you know, me snapping images from the live telescope views. You don't have to watch your missions live, right? You can, all of your data is saved for you. But what I wanted to show you very quickly on an advanced mission is you click your slot. We've selected the day, we've selected the telescope, we've selected the slot. We can select by Slooh 1000 here, but we can also select by coordinates. Now, Mariana was asking about asteroids. Now, this is really what you need to do for asteroids, because asteroids, the coordinates are not fixed like the stars or these other celestial objects that we've looked at. The moon, the planets, and asteroids, they move. They have an apparent motion against the stars, so their coordinates change over a course of minutes. So anyway, you'd have to enter the coordinates in here. So Mariana, I think it would be better if you drop me an email to tell me exactly what you're interested in doing, how you want to study asteroids, because most people want to study what are called near-Earth asteroids rather than main belt asteroids. Main belt asteroids in between Mars and Jupiter. Near-Earth asteroids can come really, really close. In fact, sometimes they impact Earth. Ask the dinosaurs. So anyway, you can also set up in here specific coordinates and art. Don't know if, once again, if you're doing some astrophotography, a lot of our members doing astrophotography are setting up mosaic panels. So this is where an object is larger than can fit in a single telescope view. So what they do is they basically set up different missions across the entire object, and then piece together the mosaic of all of their images. But I just want to show in here. So let's do by catalog again. Let's do Messier again. I am going to guess, I'm fed up with the Andromeda Galaxy. I'm going to guess that M51 is going to be visible around this time. Cannot be. So, okay, it's forcing me to go for one that I know is visible. It is, because what I wanted to do, actually, I don't know. There's the bit that I wanted to show you. I don't think I've logged into my normal account. The bit that I wanted to show you here isn't showing up. I'm missing a couple of processing options down here, which use different filters. They're called the luminance only filters. So once again, Art, that might be something you're interested in. But Art, I'm going to finish off. Before we hop over to Quest very quickly, I'm going to show you one of the things that you might be interested in. So we've got a whole stack of guides at Slooh. You press this little search icon, and this is just for art. Press, I think if we just do image, we can find image processing presets. So this is the guide that you want to go to. Scroll down this page, and for each telescope system, it shows you a table of what the preset name is, so the processing option, what happens during the live processing, but over here is probably what you're interested in. This is showing you the different exposure levels, the binning levels, and the filters that each one of those presets is using. And if you're an experienced astrophotographer, you might come over here and say, oh, that might be a bit limiting. I assure you it's not. Also for for our scientists, users as well, you can hop down here and you can see that we've got photometric filters in the Chile 2 system as well down here. But have a look at the observations, see what other members are doing. Hop over to the Fornax Club, the Fornax House.
Sir, can I ask a question?
Yes, you can, yes.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you, like, for example, Mariana wanted to carry a research on asteroids. What if you want to carry a research on comets?
Same thing. Comets also. I'll just show you. I don't know actually at the moment if we've got any. I don't think we've got any visible, good-looking comets in the Slooh 1000 at the moment. But here you can see minor planets and comets. So you've got minor planets. This is where you've got the main belt asteroids. So you could capture images of any of these asteroids or minor planets in here. Pluto's in here as well, of course. And if you did that over different missions, separated by an hour, then you could see the asteroid moving against the background stars, which is quite cool. But in here, when there's a comet which is looking good, we add it to the Slooh 1000. At the moment, there aren't any really good looking comets at the moment. They're all kind of fairly small and fuzzy, but it's exactly the same thing. Now, to really study comets, you do really need to have advanced missions so that you can do it by telescope and you can set up your missions by coordinates. But so much depends on what it is you want to study about these asteroids or comets, because there are different forms of science that you can perform. The most common form of science, we have one group, very large group of members, and they perform what's called astrometry on comets and asteroids. And this is measuring an object's position in relation to the other fixed background star. So let's say it's a near-Earth asteroid. Well, what our members do is they keep an eye on the minor planet center for alerts of newly discovered near-Earth asteroids, which we don't really know. We've only got maybe a couple of observations. It's discovery observation, but we don't really know how big it is, where it's going, how fast it's going. So what our members do is they set up missions to it, normally 3 at a time, 3 advanced missions at a time. And once they've got 3 images of that asteroid moving against background stars, they perform astrometry on that data. And that tells them the exact position of the asteroid in the sky over 3 missions, and they know what time it is. So you can then calculate from that its observation, its orbit. So then you know where it's going and how fast it's going. They make submissions to a place called the Minor Planet Center, and the Minor Planet Center then have this huge database of all of these near-Earth asteroids, some of which could threaten Earth. So that's one form of science that people are doing, and it's the same with comets as well, are doing with the Slooh telescopes. But there's also another form of science called photometry, and that's measuring the apparent brightness of an object. And you can do that with things called variable stars. We've just had one member, a student member, who's just started at Stanford, because she used Slooh to study a particular type of variable star. And she did this when she was 13 years old using Slooh. We only found out about it afterwards. She wrote her first scientific paper with the help of one of her teachers, had that published, and she's a very bright student anyway. But I bet you that helped her get into Stanford. She's a very bright cookie, and she did all of that with Slooh's telescope. So that was variable stars, but you can also start looking at asteroids and comets and measuring their brightness. So sometimes comets burst out, they have an outburst, and they get a lot brighter. And it's really useful for scientists to understand how bright they get, because then they can start calculating, well, okay, how big is it? How much of an outburst was it? How much material probably came off the comet during that outburst? We've also seen over the years, people have been a Slooh member for a long time. We've seen comets break apart over the course of several nights. We've seen some comets that go close to the sun, perihelion, and they go around the sun, and we lose sight of them while it's behind the sun, but then it re-emerges on the other side of the sun. Sometimes they haven't re-emerged because they've just broken up. the sun's gravity has just destroyed the comet behind. Other times they've come back, but in multiple pieces. We've even seen impacts on Jupiter, when an asteroid plummeted into the surface of Jupiter and left these scorch marks on it. We did a star party a good few years ago when we looked at the aftermath of an impact of an asteroid on the moon. We've done a whole stack of things like this. So it really depends on what kind of science you want to do, on comets and on asteroids. So why don't you, if you're both in the same school, why don't you write to me, paul@slooh.com, and we can talk to your teacher and see exactly how to help you. Maybe follow in the footsteps of our Stanford entrant. That would be really cool to see you guys land up going to university to study astrophysics or cosmology or astronomy, whatever else you'd like to do. So anyway, I've been garbling on for an hour. I'm going to show you one very quick little thing before I go, which is really about your next step. So you know how to control the telescopes, you know how to look at the live views, but how do you learn how to do that while you're probably learning about astronomy? Some people don't want to learn about astronomy at all. Some of our members just want to capture loads of really, really cool images. And we've got all sorts of quests to do that. But come back to the dashboard, go to Browse Quests, use the filter button here, go to Beginner Quests, and it will just list all of the beginner quests. Cosmic Explorer is a good place to start. Milky Way Explorer is a good place to start. Nifty Nebula is the one that I would point you towards. And all of our quests, these are our learning activities. In fact, I'm going to show you another quest this time. I'm going to show you one that I haven't got images for. Have I got images? I bet you I've got images for just about everything now. But I just wanted to show you one quest because they're all roughly the same. Actually, ABCs of Slooh will be okay. So I'm just going to view this quest, and all quests are split down in the same way. They're split down into a number of steps. This is the poster that I'm trying to complete for this quest. So each one of those little slots there, that's an image that I've got to capture, an object I've got to capture. We got some intro on the quest. We got and each quest is split down into different steps. And some of these steps include capturing images. So this is just talking about what images you need to capture. We're giving you a few tips here. Once again, if the Slooh 1000 isn't good enough, well, you need to capture an emission nebula with some different names. So we kind of point you in the direction of the Eagle Nebula would be a good one to do. But let's hop down here. There's the Orion Nebula, but let's hop down. So sorry, I'm garbling now. This is where it's 1 a.m. here. No, it's not, it's midnight. This is where you capture your images in your quest. And you can see here, I've already added a couple of images. And I wonder if there is an object here that I know I haven't got an image of. I might not have keyed Home of Vulcan. Oh, I do have an image. Oh, blast. I do have an image of that. So all you do anyway, when you come into a quest, all right, and you come into here, you press the Find Image button. And what it does is it opens up all of the images that you've captured of that particular object. Sometimes it's not a particular object. Sometimes it's a type of object. So it might be a mission nebulae, it might be spiral galaxies, and it will show you all of the images that you've captured. And you can see here, all of the images that I've captured. These are not ones that I processed. These were from the live feed. You can step through and you can try and find the one that you absolutely adore. This one's looking pretty nice up here. You select that. And what this is now doing is it's being inserted into your quest, and it's going into your quest poster. It can take some time. My machine's doing loads of things at the moment. But here we go. And there's the image that I've just selected. Now you can come back into a quest and you can change it. So if I capture a better image, say of the Running Man Nebula, I can come back into here. I can say edit image. I can come back and I can select another image type. Well, there's an interesting one up here. You can see that this image up here is a bit it's strange. It's got some strange colors on it. Well, that's because we're doing live astronomy. Sometimes the conditions might be cloudy or hazy, which adds these strange colors to our images sometimes. Sometimes we get a satellite streaking through our image. So, but that's why you can, some of this is great fun to do, because you can keep searching for the best possible image that you've got. But go back in here. So once you've finished your quest, you go through all of the steps. And by the way, there's Q&A in here, and sometimes when you answer a question in a quest, the text appears on your poster. Actually, I need to go to the previous step because I actually want to see my poster. So here we go. Scrolling down, this is a high resolution poster. So there is the image that I've just added for the Orion Nebula. Once I've added them all, I can download this poster. Huge high resolution posters. A lot of schools are printing these off and putting them in the corridor outside the science labs and stuff like that. They look absolutely brilliant. But you can also just right click on it and download a smaller, lower resolution version of it. But you can come back and you can edit this whenever you like. Once you've finished a quest, you get awarded gravity points, you get awarded a badge for that quest as well. And that kind of brings us full circle all the way back to here on the dashboard. This is where our badges are shown, and this is where our gravity points are shown as well. So I think I've covered enough for tonight. I'm sorry, I've gone on a little bit longer than I was hoping for. If you want to look at any of the things, if you want to review any of the content that we've done tonight, I'll go to Q&A in a sec, but you can just click on this, what we call the hamburger menu, the 3 bars, click on that, go down to Star Party. And as soon as this Star Party finishes, this is going to appear down here, and you can click it and you can rewatch any Star Party again down here. So that's a nice little resource that you can look at. Any questions, anybody? Thank you very much, everybody, for staying on. I know it's been a little bit of a long one this evening, but great that everybody's stuck around. While you're thinking of asking questions, I'm going to go over and I'm going to have a look at the live telescopes. Has Starlink been an issue for Slooh? No, Art. So Starlink, if anybody's not aware of these are the huge constellations, these huge groups of satellites that a certain gentleman, a certain billionaire, is launching into space, and they are causing some amateur astronomers and scientists a lot of trouble, because if they're, so here we are, we're looking at celestial coordinates here. So Joel has set up a mission on Canary 1. I don't know what he's looking at, but actually it looks like it's a comet, 2022 WG7. So it's probably that tiny smudge right there. I'm not sure about that, but we have to check. And we can see down here the all-sky camera. The conditions are horrible tonight. Look, we've got all this cloud. That's what the telescope is pointing through, and we've still got quite a good image. But what Art's asking about these Starlink satellites, because what happens is during these long exposures in telescopes like this, these satellites pass through that field and they cause a load of lines going through, normally diagonally going through. We have had the International Space Station go through a few missions in the past. We have seen brighter satellites go through Art, but so far we are not seeing Starlinks in either Canary Islands or Chile images. I think somebody did capture them, but I think they did it deliberately because they wanted to capture the Starlink satellites going through. But we're just not having, spoiled missions. We do have, as I say, missions. There's one particular one that I love, which is the Helix Nebula, and a satellite is going through the field of view during that mission, and it looks like the eye of Sauron is kind of being pierced by this arrow. So sometimes a satellite whizzing through your mission can be quite cool. Any other questions, folks? Thanks for that, Art. Art, if you've got any kind of more advanced questions that I can't cover here, then let me know, and drop me an email, paul@slooh.com. I'll be happy to answer that. Oh, this is going to be Horsehead Nebula. This won't be a pretty mission, will it? Not through that cloud, because Orion's pretty low at the moment. Yeah, look, so you can see that we're looking through cloud. So I can just, you won't be able to see this in the screen share, but I can just about make out the silhouette of the horse behind it. But that's only because I know what I'm looking at. But this image, the live stream is so noisy because we're peering through, all of that cloud that we've got in the Canary Islands tonight. But got Chile starting soon. I haven't looked at Chile. Let's go and have a look at Chile, see what conditions are like there. By the way, if you come, I will just add this. This is oh, that's a nice star cluster. If you click on the telescope pages when they're offline, this is a great, right, so we're looking clear. So here's the all sky camera in Chile. This is the dome over here, so that'll change shape very shortly because it'll open. But if we scroll down here on the offline telescope pages, make this the first place. Make this the second place you come in the morning. The first place should be looking at your live images that you captured. Second place is here. Look at the status report, and the status report tells you everything that could have affected your missions from the previous night. You also get an email notification as well. But this is showing the conditions from last night. So it was clear, wind was low. The Chile Observatory was offline actually due to high humidity, or the risk of that. I do notice actually, even though it's clear, we have got a humidity warning at 85% down here. So we might not open tonight, but we're now in this transition period, this strange period of year when both the observatories, Chile is moving into summer, Canary Islands is moving into winter, and we can land up with this couple of month period where both observatories can get some mucky weather at the same time. But before you know it, we're going to be into full-blown summer in Chile, and that's when the Chile 2 telescope really comes into its own. That's another 17-inch telescope. And actually on my phone today, I had some great photos. It reminds you of the photos of several years ago or whatever. 3 years ago today, we were installing that Chile 2 telescope. That Chile 2 telescope from 3 years ago has not had a single night of downtime. Nothing's gone wrong with it. I am touching wood. I would ask all of you please to touch a piece of wood which is close to you. Thank you very much, because I have tempted fate there. The Chile 2 telescope is going to carry on working without any failure for the next 3 years. There you go. Right. Well, unless there are any other questions, that's it for me tonight. I'm going to turn in, maybe have a cup of tea, then turn in. Gretchen, Milton, you've got Star Party a little bit later. If we come up here, we can also look at Star Parties up here. Just remind us, Gretchen, what your Tuesday's members Star Party is and where members can find it.
Well, the Tuesday Star Party, it's community. We go over what's happening with the sun and the moon and the planets and current things that are happening, like Mars. We'll talk about Mars, and there's a NOVA event that we're going to talk about. And super great place for asking questions. It's like super friendly, and just a place to catch up. It's kind of just like a community hangout now. And so everybody's welcome.
And on the Star Party page, there's a nice little link here to a video that shows you how to join our Discord server here. So you can just come to this page. You can also get to this page from here, from the profile menu, and go to My Community. You can choose which houses to join. So I'm a member of the Fornax house here. Everybody's a member of Pixis. But I strongly urge anybody who enjoys sharing their astronomical pursuits with other people, the Discord community is a great place to be. It is the only people on our Discord server are Slooh members. It is fully moderated. It's a really nice, friendly place to be, and it's a great place to catch up with what other members are doing. So Gretchen, I won't join you tonight, but I hope that Star Party goes well. And you've also got a Star Party, you told me tonight, member Star Party coming up for the opposition of Mars on December 8th. Is that right?
Yeah, we do. It'll be on the evening of December 8th, evening Eastern Standard Time, 8 o'clock. And there's one after that, which Milton will be joining us, where we're going to talk about the December solstice.
Oh, that's terrific. And that's, I think this year it's December 21st, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So be sure and check the Slooh page for that when it gets scheduled.
Yeah. And it's a weekday. And of course, we will have throughout the day, and we'll probably keep it going for a lot longer than normal. We will have, let's just filter out on solar system here. I'm just in my photos at the moment, if you didn't spot that. Apply filters, because I just want to show you all of the solar system images, because we will have, on the day of the solstice, live views of the sun all day long. And my goodness, we've seen some absolutely cracking activity recently. Oh, look at that really, really thin waning crescent moon. Those are special missions I set up. Let's have a look at this. So we're seeing these huge filaments, these huge active regions, huge prominences, you know, and once again, to give you a sense of the scale of this is from the live view of the solar telescope every day. The size of that dark filament there, which actually isn't a sunspot, there's a sunspot underneath it, but that's a filament, that's the size of the Earth. Oh, I just love thinking about the scale of all of these astronomical celestial objects. Anyway, that's it. I could rabbit on all night, as you know. So we're going to stop there. Thank you very much, Gretchen. Thank you, Art, for all of your questions. Thank you to our students as well who are asking questions tonight. That's going to be fascinating, isn't it, to see how they want to study, you know, asteroids and comets, because we do have this group that we have a fully structured training course that trains Slooh members how to track and monitor near Earth asteroids and comets. So that's they'd have to up their membership to be able to do that, because you do need at least 3 advanced missions at a time to do that. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me tonight. Let me know, drop me an email, paul@slooh.com, if it's prompted any questions. Art, I look forward to seeing some of your astro art, hopefully, and hopefully we'll see you over in the Fornax house on Discord as well. So take care. Gretchen, Melton, have a great star party later on as well. Take care, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.